Hello, ladies. I am Shanna Bradley. I am the founder of Global Birth Community, and we train doulas. I'm a doula, international doula trainer, childbirth educator, student midwife, mom, homeschooling mom, wife, all the things. And I just got into birth for really just trying to figure out why my births were so different from a traumatic birth to a very non-traumatic birth. And through all of that, started to study birth and started to see how important birth was. And I now know that there are three times in a person's life when they're most open to spiritual things, and that is birth, death, and marriage. And so, being a woman, being able to walk alongside women during pregnancy, birth, and postpartum is such a crucial time to be able to care for a woman and love on a woman and share the love of Christ through words and action. And so, that really, to me, is the heart of what we do. That Birthwork is Ministry, and it's spiritual, whether we think it's spiritual or not. It is definitely spiritual. And so I want to have a community of like-minded women who can get together and just talk about how birthwork is ministry. And so this month we have an awesome speaker, Joyce. She's a midwife that I have not got to meet in person yet, but hopefully maybe even October I will get to meet her, but if not, some point. And so I just wanted her to come on and share a little bit about what she does, what she sees as ministry and what she does, how the Lord brought her to all these things and all these amazing things that she's doing, because she inspires me. And so I know she'll inspire you ladies. So Joyce, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us all about you.
Well, thank you for the nice intro. I don't know if I can live up to that. But, I'm a midwife for about 20 years in Montana here. I went back to school. I have 11 children. And when my youngest was about 4 years old, it looked like I was going to need to get a job. And so I thought I might as well do something I love. And so I started on the path for midwifery. And it was kind of amazing how the Lord made miracles so I could actually do that. But at that point I had older children and they were very supportive too. And so we kept things going and I got through school. About 14 years ago, our family went through a horrendous, hard time. And I ended up a single mom of four kids at the time. And you know how when life gets super rough, you either press more into God or you get bitter. And the Lord did some amazing things to me. And one of the things is that He really pulled me out of a lot of insecurities. And I never, ever thought I'd be able to stand up in front of people and teach, or even sit here before you today and talk. And yet the Lord's done a lot of work. And I'm so thankful for Him to be able to change us and mold us and shape us into the person He needs us to be, and to be able to do His work. So when my youngest then graduated high school, I'd always wanted to do mission work. And of course, it was not the right timing. But when he graduated high school, I said to the Lord, you know what, is this the timing that I can go on the mission field? And so I signed up actually with Samaritan Purse, and to go through them, it's quite the process. They're a really good organization, but they don't just, there was a lot of paperwork to do. There was a lot of background checks, pastor letters. There's, even health stuff. You have to get a note from your doctor, kind of thing. It was a lot of process. So in the meantime, I was kind of antsy to go somewhere, and I saw this ticket to Italy for, I think it was $500 round trip. And I kept asking people if they wanted to go with me, and nobody could. And my daughter said something about, you know what, Mom, people go travel solo and they actually like it. And I thought, really? I'm going to do that. So I actually only booked one Airbnb for like the first 3 or 4 days in Bologna. And I jumped on this plane and I went to Italy. And my grandparents are from Italy, so it was a place I had always wanted to go. So I spent a couple weeks there just wandering around, jumping from Airbnb to Airbnb. And the Lord just showed me through that I could do this. I can do different things than you'd ever expect to do. And He gave me a confidence that I can travel alone if that's what He leads me to do, or or with a group. It's like whatever he leads me, he can give us the strength and the power to do that. So then October came and Samaritan Purse came through, and they had a place for me to go in Kapsor, Kenya, which is up in the mountains. And Samaritan Purse has hospitals all over the world. So, but only a few will accept a CPM. They want nurse midwives usually, or doctors or that kind of thing, but there's a few that will take CPMs. And so this was one of them. I had not ever really thought about going to Africa. I was thinking more like South America or, somewhere a little closer, but I was ready to go anywhere. So I went up there and did not know what to expect at all. When I got the first day I was there, they said, do you want to follow those nurses into a C-section? And you can just, observe. And so that's what I thought I was doing, was just observing. And I figured the nurses knew what they were doing. They were receiving the baby. And so the baby was born and the nurses took the baby. And I noticed there was no setup in case something went wrong. But they took the baby and the baby was not breathing. And she picked up the baby and shook the baby. And I was like, oh my, I thought these girls knew what they were doing. And so right away, I called my NRP instructor and said, is there a simplified version of NRP? Because I need something right away. And that's when the Lord threw me into teaching. Because from then on, the rest of the time I was there, any chance I'd get some students together, I would teach them helping babies breathe, which is a simplified version of NRP. It's put out actually by the same people. They gather with, World Health Organization, and they come up with all these classes. Besides helping babies breathe, there's bleeding after birth, there's preeclampsia, labor and delivery. There's all sorts of classes. So I got home from that first trip and I actually got connected with Perinatal Rescue Network. And that's what they do, is they help people get trained and they help supply people with the stuff to do the trainings. And so they helped me get my training, and I'm master certified now in several of their classes. And I've been teaching. I've gone back to that same hospital several times now. The last trip I taught over 200 people. That's all I did the whole time. Because every day I'd get up and I'd teach a new class. The morning and the afternoon, sometimes would be different classes. They would just rotate all the students because they have nursing students there. And it's just shocking because even the teachers thought the right answer was shake the baby if it's not breathing, or slap the baby, some of these old-fashioned ideas, and they just don't get what's really going on. So fun to teach. And I still get nervous when I go to start a class, but the Lord gives me grace and I really enjoy it. And I found I really have a love for teaching, and wondering when the Lord's going to have me retire into the teaching mode instead of just, solo midwifery practice is kind of, I'm hoping my apprentice is going to graduate and continue helping me with going on, so I can actually travel more and do more of the traveling teaching. I've been teaching classes here now in the US, here and there, whenever the opportunity comes up. And recently, like I think it was in the spring, I had a 3-day little conference. The Lord provided a place here in Libby that I could do, because I live in Northwest Montana, and Libby, it's a really beautiful area. Near Glacier Park is where we are. And so I did the 3-day class, and it was really good. It was really fun. I was really tired by the end of 3 days, but I still had in my mind, you know what? I want to do something longer. I want to do something more mission-minded, where we're actually training people to go on the mission field and teach these classes. And because, it's such an opportunity to be able to go and have midwifery just opens up the mission field for us, because there's so much need there. There's so many moms and babies that are dying, and it just opens up a field that we can go and be used, how the Lord wants to after we get out there. So I decided I was going to came up with this idea for a 3-week intensive course where we're going to go through all the global midwife courses that we can and a whole bunch of other stuff. and have guest missionaries come and speak about what it's really like to get on the mission field, and what it's, how hard it is to just live in a tile room with no carpet or rough, or mosquitoes buzzing around your head, and the realities. I'd like people to know what the realities are so they can be prepared. So that's how we got connected, because Shauna, right? She wants to come to the course. I'm hoping she can, and I'm sure she can give a lot too, besides get qualified for those classes that she wants to go out and teach. So that's in October, if anybody is interested. We're going to try to pull that together, and I'm hoping I can really pull it together. The ideas is one thing, but the other thing of actually getting it organized and together is another. But I'm sure the Lord will help with that too. So there's my little spill.
Awesome, thanks. So explain to people who might not know what NRP is.
Oh, neonatal resuscitation. Just when a baby's not born breathing, about 10% of babies, they say, need a little help breathing. And so we're taught in NRP, or helping babies breathe, what are those first steps? So if the baby's born and not breathing, what do? You want to inflate their lungs. That's the main thing. And so give them a little bit of air, and shaking and rubbing their back and all that kind of stuff. You can try that for, not the shaking part. You can't try shaking a baby. But so often you see people, using a bulb syringe over and over, or rubbing the baby's back over and over. And that doesn't do much good after the first few seconds. If the baby's not going to breathe with that, then you need to give them some help. And so it's just teaching people how to help a baby to breathe. That's a really good name for that course.
Yeah, call it what it is. So we actually met, well, internet-wise, we met my friend Nina, took helping babies breathe when she was out in Montana with Go Midwife. And she said it's like the simplified version of an NRP. So NRP is very like US hospital based, like all of these things. I've done NRP, but it's not necessarily home birth. It's not, Africa. It's very like the way we do it in the West. And she said it's just very simple, and it's just like matter of fact, and you just do these steps. And she said it's such a better program. And yeah, so I'm excited that we have people like you who go and teach this, because clearly I tell this to other people as we go to the missions field to do midwifery, that they have the medical knowledge to keep a mother and a baby alive per se, but they aren't taught like physiological birth and doula positions and all of these things. So when we have classes overseas, midwives will come to our doula training, and I'm so like, what can I teach you? I don't know. And they're like, we don't learn this stuff. We just learn very basic, keep baby alive. And so, yeah, so to be able to go and teach some of these classes are so vital, because they're more, they're more in depth than what they're getting, even with some of these degrees that they have in midwifery overseas. So yeah, so you're in Montana in Libby, and this is like an all-inclusive training where you have the housing included, you have some meals included, you just have to get there, right?
Right.
And then sit and listen and learn and all the things. How many people do you have confirmed so far? Do you know?
11 people signed up. So
wow.
We'll see if everybody can actually make it.
Okay, awesome.
But we could actually take a few more. I'm thinking we could maybe take up to 15.
Okay.
There's 9 bedrooms in this place, with bunk beds in one of the rooms and 2 beds in another. So it should be enough to house everybody. It's pretty cushy compared to the mission field.
Right, for sure. So what are you thinking besides some of those main classes? You said some speakers. Are you going to do any other hands-on skills? I'm trying to remember what your whole little thing said. I just remember like, no, that's exactly what I want to do. Like, that's so exciting. I don't know how I'm going to leave and go to Montana for 3 weeks, but we'll figure it out. But yeah, so what else are you hoping, planning?
Well, a lot of hands-on things. That's the great thing about these global health classes, is it's not like a bunch of reading and you take a test. It's more like, we talk about some of the stuff, but then we do it. We get up and we do lots of scenarios, and you should hear the scenarios we're planning. It makes it a lot of fun, but it also makes it real. When you're doing a scenario where, say, a mom is bleeding And you actually see we have these little mannequins that actually bleed. And so when you turn on that blood and it's coming out and you go, okay, you need to get the pit. Okay, you need to do, what's your next step? What are you going to do next? And it makes it really click of how fast are you going to remember the next step? And it's really different if you're doing a paper test. Yes, you can answer all those questions, but are you really going to know how to react in the situation? And are your helpers going to know what to do? And do you have the closed loop communication and and then if somebody has to call the hospital or call another care provider, are you going to know what to say? So we teach SBAR, and how to make that phone call. That was very important in Africa because there were 7 wards in this hospital I was at, and there was only one doctor for the whole 7 wards. So say we needed help in the labor room, you'd have to call. And now the first time I was there, they didn't have so many cell phones, but now you'd be calling the doctor in and they wouldn't know what to say. They would just say, come to the labor room. And so that poor doctor had no info. And so we kept on trying to teach them, okay, what are you going to say when you call? So that's part of the whole thing. We will have scenarios towards the end. We'll start with, in the beginning, just the classes that we taught, but towards the end, we'll try to put bigger scenarios together so that you have the whole, so you get that hands-on teaching. I think hands-on teaching is just really important. And I don't want to bore people with lots of talking as much as getting up and doing things. So we try to have you moving a little bit. We'll also do, depending on people's skill level, whether they want to learn IVs or blood draws, blood pressure, all those kind of things. We have somebody coming in to teach physical exams. In the mission field, you also end up doing things that you don't expect to do, or maybe you haven't been trained to do. And so it's always good to cover as much as we can. One of the girls, we're hoping to get her to come teach suturing. She grew up on the mission field, and the first time she sutured was when she was 12 years old. She said She learned all the suturing, not just vaginal suturing, but she learned a lot of suturing. And so we thought that would be good. We should learn the whole scoop of the suturing, not just for childbirth. So we'll do a little bit of everything, and we're open to what people need depending on those skill levels. A lot of the girls have asked me if I'm going to be signing off on skills, and I can sure do that, as we go. If someone's after, part of the NARM, the PEP process, a lot of the girls need their skills signed off.
I have a midwife friend who works in southern Mexico, and she says she does all kinds of sutures for the community, gunshot wounds, stabbings. I mean, it's not a violent place, but things happen, and so they know she can suture, and she loves suturing, and she teaches suturing. And I'm like, yeah, like that's so crazy to think of being a midwife and be like, yeah, honey, I delivered 5 babies and did a couple gunshot sutures. Like, yeah. When you're overseas, a midwife is really a pillar in a community, and they come to you, and you might be the only provider. And so it's not all just babies. But do you have any stories that you can think of, even in your solo practice, of just an opportunity to be able to see the Holy Spirit and in the birth room, or being able to connect with your clients in that way of fulfilling some of that spiritual like seeking, or anything that you can just think of like, man, this is where I really see or have seen the Lord in birth or in what I do?
Well, I think of one lady right off the bat in Africa that she had where they call it FGM, female genital, what's the word I'm looking for? Mutilation.
Mutilation.
Yeah. So at one point in her life, she had been sewn up basically, vaginally. So with her first baby, they had to give her an episiotomy, and you actually do have to give an episiotomy for those ladies. It doesn't tear. But this was her second baby, and I was her care provider. And so as she was delivering, she got really worried, you have to cut me, she was telling me. And I'm going, no, I don't think so. And of course, in that situation, I wasn't positive because I don't have any experience with that. So it looked like it would be fine. So I, of course, called over one of the midwives from there, and that's the thing, is you can learn from each other when you're at these places. There's a lot that you want to teach them, but there's a lot we can learn from them because they have, often 8-10 births a day. It's like they're going through a lot, but then they don't, like you were saying, they don't know anything about changing positions, or um, there's a lot of respectful care that needs to be taught. And that's one of the big things that global health is trying to push too, is that respectful care. And so anyways, with this mom though, she didn't, I don't even think she tore. It was a really lovely birth. And there was just such a connection with this mom. And she just, that's the thing with midwifery, is the thing that we're doing is we're loving on moms. And that's what God loves, is he loves us just loving on these moms, whether they're hurting in Africa or whether they're hurting here. It's still just moms that need love. And that mom the next day, she just like grabbed hold of me, and that's not even in their culture. It was just something I could see that there was a connection, and she was just so happy to just be loved on and taken care of. The other thing I did is I stood guard on her bed, because if you didn't, somebody would come and move that baby and tell her to get up and go to the postpartum room. And I was like, no, I'm not going to let her. I want her to be able to nurse her baby and actually have an hour before they got her up and moved. So she was able to do that. And that was really special to her too. But so many times, I could tell you lots of stories. Here in America, the first time I had a really heavy hemorrhage that didn't stop with the medication, I remember the Lord just speaking. I don't know, did he speak or just move my hands? And I did a bimanual compression, and it was like, whoa, how did I know how to do that? And I knew it was just God. He just is. So many times I could give you story after story of times, but that thing about how the Lord loves us, loving on those moms. I was actually at a point, it was kind of during the COVID point, and I was getting just a little bit burned out. We had so many transports during that time, and I was so tired of dealing with hospital stuff and the judgment that comes along with doctors and that kind of thing. Sometimes you feel. So I was just praying and saying, Lord, what do you want me to do? Is this really what you want me to keep doing? And I went to the next birth, and the mother, the mom's mother, the grandma was there, and she said, God loves the midwives. And it was like it was a voice from God. And I said, what? And she said, like in the Old Testament, when God said he took care of the midwives. And that's exactly what it was. It was like God was speaking to me and saying, I love what you do. I love that you love on moms. It's not about whether they get the perfect birth, if they had their home birth or not. It's that we love on moms and we just care for them. That's what he loves that we do, that we take time and we listen and we are there for these moms. So that's what we're doing day by day, and wherever that we are, whether it's here or there.
Awesome. When you said you've been back to Kenya, is that right?
Yes,
Kenya?
yes, several times.
So do you feel like those classes, those education, that relationship that you have, and you keep going back, do you see a difference in that birth community as far as are they implementing that well? Are they learning from some of those things, implementing some of those things? Do you feel like there is change?
I think change happens very slowly over there, and you have to not get discouraged, because sometimes that's how you feel. And I remember one day while I was teaching, I was feeling that way, like, is this doing any good? Is this, are the changes really going to be made at all? Are we going to see any changes? And this older nurse came out to me, and this was a person that went through the class, and throughout the whole class, she never said a thing. And I actually thought she didn't like the class because she had kind of a upset face. To me, it seemed like she was upset. And it was like, I did not expect anything from her. But this was a few days after the class, she came up to me and she said, guess what? She said, I kept a mom with her baby for a whole hour. And that was huge, because that never happens. So that was huge, that if they're starting to get it, little things, and you just do step by step, and you do see changes. And those students, it was nice to go back to the same place, because I was teaching some of the same students, and I'm still in touch with those students. And my sister went with me this last time, and she connected with some of the moms, and they've been adopted. Basically, she feels like she's got these two new daughters, and it just depends what the Lord does with each situation. Just like here, it's the same thing as there. When you can build relationship, the Lord's gonna use you.
So how did you get started with midwifery? I mean, you said that, you know, you needed something, but I mean, most people would say that midwifery is a calling and it comes from somewhere deep inside from the Lord. So do you have a journey like that?
Definitely is something I had wanted to do. Well, I didn't even hear of it until I think it was my fourth baby. I heard about a midwife and I had my first home birth. Those were nurse midwives in Oregon. It was a little different, but it was a really good experience. At that point, I wasn't thinking of midwifery, but I went through the Bradley classes when I was pregnant with my first baby. And so I always thought, well, I'd like to be a Bradley teacher. And then at one point I just wanted to become a midwife, and I looked up the licensing and all that, and seemed really unreachable. And of course I had a whole house full of little kids at the time too. And so at one point I told the Lord, you know what, if you want me to go into this, you're going to have to open the doors. And I actually gave away all my books and everything. It was like, I knew he had to do it because it was not going to be something that I could get into on my own. And when the time came, that's what happened, is he opened doors that I never thought could open. He provided the money and the time and the support that I needed. And I look back and know it was just a complete miracle.
How do you feel that you keep this practice sustainable with work and life? And a solo practice, I think, is literally the hardest. And you tend to have students as well, so that adds a layer to it. But I know everyone likes to talk about self-care, 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 self-love. But as believers, we know that, you know, once we pour that cup out and it's empty, how do you fill that up as a midwife and keep going after, do you say 20 plus years, 25?
Yeah, 20 years. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. I was really feeling burned out. When was that? It was, I had a student, and she'd already actually been licensed in Wisconsin, and she was just having to finish up 10 births from Montana. So she's pretty qualified, but I couldn't leave her necessarily without a supervisor. But I felt like I needed that trip. And I think that was the one, it was either the one to Italy or my first one to Kenya. And it was so good for me. Taking the time off was, I came back refreshed and missing it and wanting to do it again. And once in a while I'll get that feeling, you know, like I need to take another trip. I don't know if it's the trip or just I need to get away from the constant, because being a midwife, you are constantly having to do something, having to think about somebody, having to worry about somebody, whether it's somebody's hemoglobin's too low or you go to bed thinking, oh, should I have checked that baby again? Should I have left them so soon? What if group B strep, maybe that low temperature was group B strep, you know, and then you don't sleep because you're worried about the baby, but the baby's an hour away from you. You know, that's how it is in midwifery. You're constantly taking care of somebody or thinking about somebody. And sometimes it's just the getting completely away for a week or two or three that can give you that refreshing, because we love what we do, but it is a lot. And yeah, I'm hoping as I get if my student, when she gets licensed, that we can actually share some of that and not quite have it all on my head.
So what would that look like ideally to teach? So if you kind of transition a little bit from full-time midwifery to part-time midwifery, what do you find the greatest joy in teaching, or what would that dream look like?
Well, I love teaching because, for instance, when you do go on the mission field, if I worked in the birth room there, yeah, I could help, you know, how many births in a day. I could, you know, visit with the nurses and stuff. But when you're teaching, you're changing the whole situation in the hospital longer than when you're there. And so to me, teaching is the best way, you know, because you're making a difference that hopefully will last a lot longer than just help for a day. Yeah, they can use help sometimes in the birth room, but that's not as effective as the long term, the teaching.
So do you see yourself going to more places like in Africa? Are there other places that you want to go? What would be Joyce's dream? I'm just curious.
I definitely want to go to other places. I'd like to see some other places. And what originally what my dream was, and sometimes I wonder if I'm getting too old for this dream, but then when I started thinking that way, I met this lady who I think she said she was 72 or 74, and she went to Uganda and she started a birth center there. And
Wow.
she started at 70 something. And I was so inspired. And because for some reason I thought, I'm in my 60s, I have about 5 years left, I can do this, and that's it, And I think I'm wrong. I think I can do more. But, anyways, what I'd like to do is I'd love to find those traditional midwives that are out somewhere that really need the teaching, that don't have any resources to get the learning. And I would love to find groups like that I could teach. It's just, I know they're going to be out in the boondocks. And so I don't know that I can handle an 8-hour bus ride and a 3-hour motorcycle ride to get where I want to go. So we'll see though, what the Lord opens up.
Yeah, that's awesome. Mercy just made a comment. She's in Nigeria and she's a doula, and she is encouraging some other women in her community to also become doulas and do childbirth education. And I'm sure she'd be more than happy to welcome you in Nigeria. So yeah, it's the middle of the night for her. So when we have class from 7 to 9, it's midnight to 2 a.m. So it's like 1 a.m. that she's on this call to hear you. So.
Well, that's wonderful. I would love to do that. That would be fun.
Yeah, she's awesome. So I'm sure you guys could come up with some awesome trainings.
That's another. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh no, I was just thinking. What were you going to say?
That's another thing that I thought would be wonderful if we could, after the 3-week training, would be maybe in the, say February or March, that we would actually have a trip that we could take together, whoever could, and go out and practice the stuff where they need the teaching, and that the students would actually do the teaching so that they could get good at it.
That'd be awesome. Well, Mercy is saying you can come to Nigeria. So
okay, we're gonna have to think about this.
Yeah, and Amanda says you can come to St. Louis as well. Are you going out there for the midwifery conference? Because she's helping kind of host that and do that. When is that, Amanda? Is that September? But could you talk more about midwifery classes, what they look like, how long it takes to become one? And then how much is your training?
The conference is the pre-conference is September the 10th. The conference is 11 through 13.
Okay.
Yeah, not too late to sign up if you want to join in, right, Barb?
Right.
That's the Christian Midwives Alliance. What's it called?
Association of Christian Birth
Professionals.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can add that into the.
Joyce was there last year, so that's how I know who Joyce is.
Yes,
that's right. I'm so mad I wasn't there last year. It was so close to me.
Yeah.
So
anyway.
Yeah.
Come to St. Louis. We would love to get training that's not traditional skills, like more lay training for us, those that are interested in home birth, and of course Missouri, is needs care, like some of these places in other countries do. So we would love to get more trained for that. So anyway.
There you go. I will go in October, and then I will come to St. Louis and do my training.
There you go. Okay, it's on the books. We're doing it.
Yeah, there you go. Joyce, can you talk a little bit more about midwifery classes? And then I believe the cost is $1,290, $1,200. What is the cost of the 3 weeks?
$1,250 for the 3 weeks, including that includes your housing and at least lunch, maybe probably breakfast and lunch. We'll figure that out as we go.
And if you email me, I can send you more information on that as well.
So yeah, the one we're doing in 3 weeks, you can only cover so much, and that's of course the problem is that I want to cover so much, and when I'm starting to try to schedule it out, it's like, oh, am I trying to squeeze too much in? But I guess it just depends how much energy everybody has.
I like the fire hose. I like fire hoses. Just give it to me. If I'm gonna come out there, I want to soak it all in. So
Right. Okay. That's what I'm gonna do then, best I can. Unless I get too tired.
Well, that's why there's more than just you, right? You're gonna have some other ladies come.
Yep, that's the plan.
Oh, Hawaii. Do we get to go to Hawaii? We get to go to Hawaii as well.
Oh.
There you go.
That's me.
That's exciting.
Yeah,
I want to come.
yes, we're setting up a lot there right now. You are so welcome. And on the Big Island, it's very remote. There's 60% C-section rate in the best hospital on the
I
island.
keep hearing that. Yeah.
And this is I'm already hooked up, and I'm traveling back and forth there because I have puppies. I can't get them for a year, so I will be your way. And the other place is the Deep South, where I work now with Give Light Foundation, she did a great documentary on Indigenous midwifery that I think everybody should watch. And I keep getting the invitations. I'm a doula. I was a surgical tech. I've been at over 2,000 births. I had the privilege of training a midwife from Italy in the hospital in South Bend, Indiana, many years ago. And we taught each other. I taught her to scrub, and she taught me the right way. So, and we worked together on purpose nights because of the obvious reasons: too much distraction during the day and too many doctors and whatever. And we taught residents. And I am a surgical first assistant, so I can do a lot of different things there. But my heart is in helping Indigenous midwives and learning from them at the same time. And I have been invited many, many places to teach postpartum, which is my real passion. And I'm an end-of-life doula. I have a gazillion initials behind my name, but I'm a certified doula, full spectrum. And we are looking for people to come over there, and I will house them or find them housing, feed them, and it's free. It's free for you. And I would even, if somebody couldn't afford airfare, I would help them out, because God just blessed me with money, and he continues to bless this ministry. And we have naturopathic doctors. So I encourage you all to call me. And for the next few months, I'm traveling. God's got me on assignment. I'm traveling. My daughter is having twins. She's in Nachos, Mississippi, and she is 36 weeks, 4 days right now.
Wow.
And she's super mom. She's mini me, and she has mad skills. So I want to be there for the birth, but more importantly, I want to be there for the month of December. I'll be there. Meanwhile, I'm going to San Diego and Arizona and across the United States and up toward, anyway. And I just have doulas on my heart. And we have a system there, and we have a lot of doulas and midwives trained in Kona, but they are YWAMers, Youth with a Mission, and they're there and gone. We need people who will come back, love it, but most of all, we need to share our knowledge. And the Hawaiians are very open, but they don't have any education in childbirth. And the midwives I know there and the doulas are amazing. And I would just encourage you all to get in touch with me if you're interested, and we can arrange something. If not, I won't be living over there permanently until I can get my training puppies. My little service dogs are currently in training. They can't be, they'd have to be quarantined if I took them now. So I won't be over there for a year, but I'll be back and forth, and I'll be in your neighborhood if you're in the United States. And I just love everything about childbirth, and I really sincerely want to help. I'm starting community doula programs in a few towns, and that's what I'll be doing here where I live in on the Arizona-Nevada border. And my old hospital that I helped start, the OB unit, I'm going to start doing the teachings and get a community doula program. Here, it's easy because I have the respect of the doctors. I know who to go to, and they all want it. And in Nevada, reimbursement from Medicaid is $1,600 per birth.
Wow.
And for Medicaid, and there's, oh my gosh, the opportunities to learn here and to help with anything you want to do. I just encourage you. And
Lori,
I'm not going to take more time, but.
So Lori, I have a question for you. Is your daughter using Susan Wilson?
No, she does not have a midwife. She's calling me over the phone. She, and if that's one thing, if anybody knows anybody that can actually be there with her physically, because she really got bullied at the hospital the other day, and I wished I was there. So,
so she's planning a hospital birth, but she won't get a
that's all there
delivery.
is. That's all there is there. Because
I have a friend that lives in Columbia, Mississippi.
Yeah, I would love the contact info, because no, the reason there's nothing there, and the doctors are very far behind. They just, section everybody, and
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
She actually does, in my opinion, need a C-section because she's got health problems that are very high risk, and the baby A is in a low transfer SLI right now, and baby B is head down. So the doctors are, they just told her she's going to have an emergency C-section, and I, coached her through, don't think of it as that, but you will probably, because they want to, they really want to let her go to 37 or 38 weeks. And we'll see, but now there's no resources at all. And the hospital's absolutely appalling. The thing with her is she grew up, I first met her when I was her group home parent in North Carolina. She's the oldest of 9 kids, and she delivered 2 of her siblings when they lived in the woods for a year when she was 5. So she knows. Wow. She's something else. She's my mini-me, and I'm just so in love with them. But right now she has a really wonderful grandma on the father's side, and she's doing a lot of what I would do. And so I'm educating everybody, which is all I can really do right now. And very close contact, of course. And ever since, the first days she thought they were having triplets. Anyway, so it's been a journey, but now the babies are healthy, they're doing well, and they will be here any day. And then she's postpartum doula. I think her Nana's got it covered. They're a very tight-knit family. But I will be there for the whole month of December and connecting with people and getting things started there, and spending time with them. And right now, for my own health, it's really hard for me to be in Natchez because I can barely breathe in that place, and there's no good food anywhere. It's just junk unless you grow your own. And anyway, so I'm here and headed out for a giant road trip that'll take from September to, I think it's February, I'll actually get back home. And then I have irons in the fire here. And then by next summer, I'll be in Waimea full time. So, and I have plenty of venues we can meet in. I have beautiful places to do the classes.
I mean, you had me with Hawaii, so.
Well, there's a lot of
going,
different.
I'll
We
go.
can also go to Molokai, which is the island that most, it's pretty remote and very uncivilized. And
yeah, I remember you telling me about some of the indigenous groups, and
And I kept messing up the time zones and missing your call, or I'd be in the middle of something. But yeah, literally, and everyone there will just bless you. It's a blue zone, both spiritually and physically.
Awesome.
It's just a wonderful place. Everybody grows, and my ministry partners there are just the best. So I actually got to attend a very unique birth when someone was praying about their ministry, and a dear friend of mine was praying over them, and somebody came and grabbed me and said, there's a birth going on. And I'm thinking, it's a bunch of 70-year-old people in there. What are you talking about? This lady, we birthed a martyr, and it was just so spiritual. And it was very much, I relate everything to childbirth. So it was really blessing after blessing, and the aloha, which is the fruits of the spirit, and the ha, the breath of God, is just abundant in these people. And so I definitely encourage anyone who's interested. And you could be on the rainy side, you could be on the dry side,
Awesome.
you could be down on the volcano rock. We need it all. So
I was going to mention something to Lori. Is this Lori talking? Because I don't really know Lori, but
it's Lori.
Yeah, my son and on Oahu, he lives in Kaneohe, and he's on staff at Anchor Church. He's a videographer, and his friend Nash Hagan is a content creator. I mean, these people have huge followings. I was saying that they Anchor Church. I don't know if you've ever heard of Anchor Church, but they have a huge impact there. It's on Oahu, Kaneohe.
Okay. I know a lot of people on Oahu, but I've never made it over there because I can't get off Big Island. They keep me busy. But Auntie Blanche, who runs a homeless shelter up north, when they need a lot of help there. She works with Catholic Social Services, and when she's always needing help. There's so much on the Big Island and on Oahu, all the islands really. Now, of course, Maui and Molokai. But
what I'm saying
everywhere.
is to recruit or for people who are interested. They have like 5 services at their church. They serve meals to the homeless. They're very community oriented, and they have a lot of various people from all backgrounds that go there. And so
yes, I will check it out. I'm sure there's people I know that attend that church. It's such a small community, and
but I would be interested in going sometime.
Yeah, I know a nurse up in Waimea. I got stuck in the Oakland airport with her overnight one time, and we were talking, and she was explaining to me how bad it really is. And Waimea is considered the best hospital on the island. But Hilo's, they need help everywhere. And I do a lot of work down in Ocean View, which is far south. And they have no schools, no community, nothing there. But you can still get an acre of land for $10,000. So we have a lot going on down there. I'll be starting a school and an orphanage. I'm taking over workers to run heavy equipment, all kinds of things on my next trip. But, and then, so there is so much, and I appreciate that, Amanda. Any input, or contacts, I'll just find out who they are and go talk to them. So.
Awesome. Does anybody have any questions for Joyce as far as anything that she spoke about? I think she added in the description to the training in the chat. But yeah, what questions do we have for Joyce?
Joyce, do you travel to other countries, but would you consider coming to St. Louis, or is that just too many resources here for your kind of thing?
I wish I could come to the conference again. I so enjoyed it last year. But this time I have too many clients due. There wasn't a way around it.
Yeah. But I'm talking about for the trainings that you're doing, the
Sure,
classes.
yeah. Yeah, I would be definitely willing to do that if we can just find some time.
Yeah, I've been wanting to do something next spring of 25. So
We'll keep it in mind.
yeah, let's talk sometime. Barb,
Okay.
we can think
The-
about that. But I think
The
there would
dates
be a
are
big
October
interest.
5th through the, let's see, the 5th through the 25th, right?
Yes.
And we need, so what would you require if people come to your conference that you're having? It's $12.50, you said?
Yes.
Yes. So what would that fee be the same every place you go, or would it be more or less, or
No, that's just
include
for
your
this.
travel?
Yeah, that's for this. I don't know, each place we'd have to look at it, but in the past, I've done things like, $50 a student, depending if it's a 1-day class or if it's each class takes a different amount of days. So it'd be depending on what we teach. So I don't know. We could figure
So the
that out.
class you're doing is how many more days? I got in late in the conversation. I apologize.
This one that I'm doing here in Montana is for 3 weeks. So
3 weeks.
weekends are supposed to be off, but then I start thinking of these scenarios that would be really great on a weekend.
Can we do them in the mountains? Can we do them at Glacier?
That's what I'm thinking. We got to have
There
some
we go. Okay.
here. So I don't know, but basically 15 days of classes, and including the scenarios. And the goal would be too that towards the end that we could have some of the students teaching the classes so that they could get certified to go out and teach also. Get some hands-on experience that way.
And it's mainly focused for doulas, or are you actually doing midwifery?
It's midwifery.
It is.
Although I don't mind somebody coming that is that doesn't have midwifery experience. The global health classes are done in such a nice basic way so anybody can understand them. So those classes especially will be for pretty much doulas. It would be okay for a doula to learn these things. It's more teaching how to teach for these classes, because that's what we need to do when we go overseas. Usually is we end up teaching. It gives you they come with flip charts. So even if there's no electricity, you can teach with the flip chart. If you have electricity, I made a PowerPoint for one of mine. You can do it however you want, but that's the goal, is to make it simple to learn the basics. So you would know what to do if a baby's not breathing or if a mom's bleeding. And even as a doula, that's really good info to have, whether you're just assisting a midwife or if you happen to be there at a birth and something goes sour, you can, or sideways, you can be a help. So it'll just be a lot of basics. It's definitely not midwifery school type thing. It's just a lot of basics and mostly mission orientated.
So is it mission at all into, because there's a lot of rural areas, like you said, in the United States even.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Just to encourage you, I'm 78, Joyce, and I'm still doing midwifery. So
I appreciate that.
Barb, how long
I think
have you
she's
been a
saying
midwife?
she needs a replacement eventually, someday.
I'm looking for it.
They won't let her retire.
I've really only been doing it for about 25 years. So it's because I raised a family first. So as old as I am, you'd think I'd been doing it a lot longer than that, but I really haven't.
She could teach.
My preceptor, she raised 7 kids and went to midwifery school at like 62.
Yeah.
So
It's
sounds
really the
good.
best way, I think, because
Yeah.
when, I
Yeah,
mean,
you
as
don't have the obligations of a family, and I think we're the ones that should be doing this work rather than relying on, I know that a lot of you are probably much younger, but I think it really tears up families. It's really hard on families for young midwives.
it's,
I didn't start doing this work until I was like 45, and my oldest was 15, our youngest was 15. So he could fend by himself, and I was just doing doula work, not just, but I was doing doula work at that time. So
It seems like there's a revival of Christian groups that are popping up. Have you noticed that, Shanna? Just that there's more. I mean, it seems to be really growing, the
Yeah.
Christian groups that are
For
doing
sure.
this kind of thing.
Yeah. I think it's because we're realizing how sacred and important birth is, and how I just think the Lord is calling more women to it. For sure. I mean, our classes sell out every class. Like we, Amanda's class, I don't think it was very big, but I would have like 3 or 4 in a class, and now I'm like, people are on wait lists to take it, and there's more and more Christian doula trainings. I have YWAMers contact me a lot, and like wanting to work with Mercy and train her to be a trainer so she can be training more doulas in Nigeria. Yeah, I think the Lord is definitely doing something through. I feel like he probably always has, but I'm definitely seeing it within doula work, stateside and internationally. So, yeah. Mercy wanted to say something. Mercy, are you still on?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to appreciate you ladies. It's 3 minutes to 2 a.m. here in Nigeria, so it's good morning here. I want to thank you ladies, and I appreciate you. I'm so excited to see elderly ladies that are still into the mission field of midwifery. You know, I was thinking that as women age, they will begin to drop out of the active service in the midwifery field. But I'm still very excited to see that we have elderly Christian ladies that are interested in that betting field. It's an encouragement to us that are still starting as doulas and childbirth educators. And I want to say that I'm very excited to be in your midst today. And I want to appreciate Shanna so much for this opportunity. You know, this place where we are, I don't want to say that we're not victimized. No, we're not sidelined, because I know that wherever the Lord wants to get us, He will definitely get us there. It will only take a little time, and then we'll get to begin to do what the Lord wants us to do here in Nigerian maternal health field. But I want to say to you ladies that we are open to learning from you all. Any trainings that can reach us here. I might not be able to afford travel for funds for traveling and training overseas, but any trainings that I can be of good help to me virtually, I'm willing to learn. I have all the time now till whenever the Lord asks me to take a break, but I have all the time to learn all I need to assist women in the betting field. So I appreciate you all. Thank you so, so much. Thank you, Shanna.
Yes.
they have you, Mercy.
Does anybody have any prayer requests or praises? We always close with prayer requests and praises, and then pray over our speaker. So we'll be praying for Lori's daughter, who's having twins. I think she jumped off, but anybody else have anything else?
Barb and I would appreciate your prayers with this conference coming up, and that that the Lord would be there, and then, you know, not everybody's going to be believers, and that we'd be a good testimony to maybe those that may not be, and all the details will come together, because Barb's been doing a lot of the planning. I'm just kind of coming along and assisting, but anyway.
Yeah.
And
Praise
if anybody
God.
hasn't looked at the conference and would like to come, it's at ACBP acbpinc.org. So Association of Christian Birth Professionals Incorporated.org.
So my prayer request is that I'm still praying for my anniversary. My fourth wedding anniversary is coming up next week on the 5th of September. Still waiting on the Lord for the 4 years of our marriage, for children, that the Lord will open heavens and shower us with that blessings.
Elena for prayers. One of her children is not walking with the Lord. Anybody else? Joyce, do you have anything specific?
For wisdom, as I'm putting together this course, I got to take all the ideas and put it down in an organized fashion. And I guess, I don't know how to do that, but I know God can do it. And I watched him do those kind of things. Even speaking tonight, it's like, oh no, what am I going to say? I know the Lord will do his work with that.
Felicity for God will keep me and my family stay safe during our vacation next week. Okay. And Felicity's mom is pregnant with baby number 12, and she just got diagnosed with gestational diabetes, right? Felicity, is that? Yep. So for her and for her mom. And Karen for her daughter who's 14 weeks pregnant. Awesome. And requests for my certification is no longer held up. I missed that. Your doula certification. Email me and we can talk about your doula certification. Maybe I can help you with that. All right. Anything else? Let me pray for you ladies. I always do an hour, and then I know we always go over, but yeah, maybe we should just make it longer. But dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for each of these women, and these women who they love you and they want to show your love to others through birth, through being a doula, being a midwife, being a childbirth educator, whatever it is that you've called them to, Lord. I thank you for your calling. I thank you for the gifts and talents and abilities that you give to us and how uniquely different they are. I just pray for these women as they go out and serve other women in your name, Lord, that these women will be drawn close to you, that they will come to know you or strengthen their faith because of these women. I pray for Joyce as she has this big training conference coming up. I just pray for wisdom for her. I pray for every little detail, Lord, the women coming, the women teaching, the women training, and just the ripples that will have for the communities that will benefit from that in the future, and the moms and the babies, and just the impact that it will have on your kingdom. I just thank you for her willingness to teach even when she doesn't feel ready, prepared, or adequate, Lord. Just continue to give her that boldness to do that next thing. I pray for Barb and Amanda and the conference in September as well, Lord. I pray for all of those details and for the women who are traveling there, and just again, that it's just a few days of training, encouragement, inspiration to be able to fill up their cups to continue to do this hard work, Lord. I pray for these other prayer requests. I pray for anniversaries and pregnancies and those who do not know you, Lord, and have not come to know you as their Father on their own, Lord. I just pray for each and every one of these prayer requests. And you see them, you hear us, Lord. And I just thank you for being a good, good Father. We just thank you and praise you. In your name, amen.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Thanks for coming on and sharing with us. And if anyone wants to donate to my fund to go see Joyce in October. Well, thank you, ladies. And we will see you next month. I'm thinking maybe I'll have to ask Lori to come on and tell us more about all the many things. I've talked to Lori. I know that she does some of this stuff, but I didn't know she did all those things. So
Yeah, that's a lot.
yeah, for sure. Thanks, ladies.
Thank you.